In this dystopian world, time has evolved into a form of currency due to scientific advancements that allow people to halt their aging at 25, but with a grim condition: they are genetically programmed to live for only one more year. This precious time can be earned through work and exchanged for goods and services. When one's time runs out, death is inevitable. Will Salas resides in Dayton, a poverty-stricken ghetto in the southwest United States. Will lives day to day, scraping together just enough time to survive, all while sharing time currency with his ever-youthful mother, Rachel Salas, who is currently 50 but has 2 days of work ahead. Rachel generously gives Will 30 minutes for lunch, and they eagerly anticipate celebrating her return. Everyone in this world has a luminous green digital clock on their arm, a relentless countdown to their eventual demise. Will's compassionate nature is evident as he readily gives 5 minutes to a young beggar girl named Maya. As Will heads to work, he buys a coffee, only to discover that the price has just increased. During their journey, Will and Rachel encounter lifeless bodies strewn across the streets, a chilling reminder of the harsh reality they face. Will toils at a metal stamping plant, manufacturing shiny cassettes. However, after completing his shift, he notices that he's been paid less, and the production quotas have been raised. In a bar, Will reunites with his friend Borel. Their night out takes an unexpected turn when they encounter a man who stands out conspicuously. This man boldly displays his arm, which reveals that he possesses over 116 years of time, a clear sign that he doesn't belong to the poverty-stricken ghetto. Predictably, the Minutemen, a criminal gang, converge on the scene, armed and ready to forcibly extract his time. Their leader, Fortis, is astonishingly 75 years old. While the bar's patrons scatter in fear, Will intervenes and assists the man in escaping the clutches of the Minutemen. The duo manages to elude their pursuers and find refuge in an old building. The man introduces himself as Henry Hamilton, and enlightens Will about the time as currency system. This system was established as a means of population control following advancements in anti-aging technology. However, as people continued to survive, inflation and reduced wages were implemented to maintain population control. This system ultimately allowed the wealthy to become nearly immortal while the less fortunate faced untimely deaths. Henry, weary of his prolonged existence, confides in Will, who passionately argues that the rich do not deserve their abundance of time. Will declines Henry's offer of time, but unable to abandon the despondent man, he offers to stay with him until morning. At dawn, Henry transfers his vast time to a sleeping Will. Will awakens alone, now in possession of 116 years of time, along with a message imploring him not to squander it. Glancing through a window, he spots Henry perched on the edge of a bridge, signaling his intent to end his life. Will races to prevent the tragedy but arrives too late, witnessing Henry's life extinguish as his time expires, causing him to plunge into a stormwater channel. Horrified, Will notices surveillance cameras recording the incident and rushes back to his home. Subsequently, Will reunites with Borel and his family, sharing his newfound wealth of time with his dear friend as a token of gratitude for their enduring companionship. However, Borel warns Will that staying in Dayton with such a substantial amount of time is a dangerous proposition. Determined to change his and his mother's fate, Will aspires to transport her to New Greenwich. Meanwhile, Rachel pays off a 2-day loan at a Weiss ATM machine and attempts to board a bus to return home. Panic sets in when she discovers that the fare has risen to 2 hours, leaving her with only 90 minutes of time. As the clock ticks mercilessly, she rushes to make it home. Will waits anxiously at the bus stop, sensing that something has gone awry. Their paths intersect, but it's too late. Rachel perishes in her son's arms. Later, Will arranges for a private limousine to pick him up and transport him to a more affluent time zone. He traverses 4 toll booths, each demanding progressively more time, until he reaches the gleaming yet sparsely populated New Greenwich city center. Transformed and cleaned up, he dines at an upscale restaurant, attracting the attention of a young lady across the room. The waitress advises him to blend in with the wealthy, recommending a nearby casino. Simultaneously, Henry's lifeless body is discovered by the timekeepers, a law enforcement entity akin to the police. Raymond Leon notices the street cameras and begins examining the footage. Raymond expresses astonishment upon spotting Will's photo, prompting his colleagues to inquire about the suspect's criminal history. Raymond clarifies that he did not know the current Will Salas but was acquainted with the older Will Salas. The timekeepers mobilize in their quest to locate Will Salas. At the casino, Will, now dressed in a tuxedo, encounters Philip Weiss, arguably the world's wealthiest individual. Engaging in a high-stakes poker game, Will bets everything and emerges victorious, amassing over 1,000 years of time. Philip, impressed by his audacity, introduces Will to Sylvia, his sheltered daughter. Will's initial intention to experience a second encounter with Sylvia serves as partial motivation for attending the subsequent party at the Weiss mansion. Preparing for potential contingencies, he purchases a Jaguar E-Type and embarks on the journey to the Weiss mansion, situated along the coastline. At the mansion, Philip reintroduces him to Sylvia, as well as his wife Michelle, and his mother-in-law, all of whom appear to be the same age due to their affluence. The women are perpetually accompanied by guards, maintaining their vigilant watch. Will, however, manages to persuade Sylvia to break free from her father's constraints, prompting her to join him for a daring midnight swim in the ocean. During their candid conversation, Sylvia confesses her yearning for a life filled with spontaneous and reckless actions, unconstrained by her father's overbearing presence. Philip's restrictions on his family members have stifled their desires, and his arrival at the scene cuts their aquatic escapade short. Will and Sylvia hastily dress, seeking to avoid confrontation, but the timekeepers arrive, intercepting their retreat. Raymond takes control of the situation, revoking the 1,000 years from Will, doubting the authenticity of his story. Raymond drops hints about his familiarity with Will's father and departs. Despite Will's valiant effort to fend off the other timekeepers, Raymond remains unconvinced. Consequently, Will resorts to taking Sylvia hostage and makes his escape from the mansion. Raymond, however, embarks on a relentless pursuit of the fugitives, determined to apprehend them at any cost. The ensuing car chase culminates with Will successfully evading Raymond's clutches, allowing him and Sylvia to return to Dayton. In the process, they confiscate a black Challenger car from Raymond, who remains stranded in the ghetto. Back in Dayton, Will and Sylvia find themselves ensnared in a trap set by the Minutemen. Their vehicle is incapacitated, rendering them unconscious. The Minutemen, however, realize that Will possesses minimal time, rendering him worthless. In contrast, Sylvia boasts approximately a decade of life remaining. In a cruel twist of fate, the Minutemen confiscate her remaining time, leaving her in a state of panic, as she has never faced such a dire time shortage. Will comforts Sylvia, assuring her that ordinary people live day by day, and escorts her to locate Borel, hoping that he might be able to provide them with additional time. To his dismay, Will discovers that Borel succumbed to the lure of riches and drank himself to death, leaving behind a widow and a newborn. Desperate to secure more time, Will resorts to pawning Sylvia's diamond earrings. Although the act grants them a reprieve, the obtained time remains insufficient. Will is compelled to make a critical decision, contacting Philip and demanding a ransom of 1,000 years for Sylvia's safe return. He instructs Philip to send the ransom to the Time Welfare Office. Raymond eavesdrops on the conversation, cautioning Will against emulating his father's path. Will learns that his father was not involved in time theft, but rather something far more serious. Unbeknownst to him, Raymond deduces Will's location, assuring Philip that he will safely recover his daughter. At Will's apartment, Raymond elucidates that Will's father was an armed fighter who employed a unique strategy to win time contests. Raymond demonstrates the technique, allowing the opponent to initially gain an advantage, lulling them into complacency, and then executing a reversal at the last seconds, redirecting the flow of time. The following day, as the ransom remains unpaid, Will is left to contemplate the reasons behind Philip's reluctance. Sylvia interprets her father's inaction as evidence that he does not truly care about her. Nonetheless, Will decides to release Sylvia and instructs her to contact her family. To ensure her safety, he provides her with a handgun. A poignant and heartfelt farewell kiss follows, but their separation is abruptly interrupted when Raymond reappears, poised to shoot an unsuspecting Will. Will, seizing the opportunity, corners Raymond and attempts to extract his time. Raymond, however, possesses only a meager amount, as timekeepers routinely carry minimal time to deter potential theft. To show his appreciation for the time he's about to lose, Raymond selflessly transfers 4 hours to Will before collapsing in the ghetto, alone and scorned by the bystanders. Sylvia grapples with the reality of using a police car, realizing that it is tantamount to inviting unwanted attention. Will and Sylvia resort to commandeering another limousine, abducting its passenger, a blonde woman dressed provocatively. To their dismay, they discover that a wanted poster has been issued, offering a 10-year reward for their arrest. Philip, meanwhile, contemplates a world map adorned with colored lights and numerical figures, reassuring his business partners that his daughter won't disrupt the prevailing economic system. Meanwhile, a wounded Raymond manages to escape the ghetto amidst a torrent of verbal abuse, ultimately meeting with Philip. Attempting to sway Raymond to his side, Philip offers him a bribe to rescue his daughter. Raymond, however, reveals that Sylvia's actions have prompted the issuance of an arrest warrant. If Philip intervenes on her behalf, Raymond threatens to have him arrested as well. With Sylvia's help, Will begins her training in firearm usage. The two embark on a daring heist, driving an armored car through the window of a Weiss bank, scooping up numerous time cassettes. They extend an invitation to onlookers, encouraging them to seize whatever time they can. The prominent display reveals the stark disparity in time distribution, endearing Will and Sylvia to the majority of Dayton's population. As they watch the news report of their audacious robbery, Philip grapples with his own demons while his wife reproaches him for stifling their family. At a seedy motel, the two fugitives grow closer before sensing that danger is lurking nearby. They narrowly evade Raymond and his timekeeper squad, eluding capture once more. Alone in the hotel room, they share their mutual affection, but an unsettling intuition prompts them to escape just in time to avoid another confrontation with Raymond. At a remote hotel, Will and Sylvia rent the entire building, seeking solitude and respite from their relentless pursuers. The Minutemen, led by Fortis, conduct a sweeping operation to uncover their whereabouts. As the tension escalates, Fortis and his gang interrogate civilians until one unwittingly divulges information about the fugitives. In their hotel room, Will and Sylvia recount their experiences since their time ran out at age 25 when the green countdown numbers commenced. Fortis eventually arrives, demanding an arm wrestling duel to the death. As their arms lock together, Will's remaining time rapidly diminishes. Employing his crafty reversal tactic, Will manages to turn the tide, eventually retrieving a concealed firearm from his boot. In a deadly showdown, he eliminates Fortis and his henchmen, only to find himself devoid of a clear path forward. Will grapples with the daunting realization that changing the oppressive system will require a staggering 1 million years. Sylvia devises a plan to retrieve the necessary time, returning to her family home and pretending to surrender herself. This diversion distracts her father and his legion of guards, providing Will with the opportunity to approach surreptitiously. At gunpoint, they escort Philip Weiss to his office, where a massive vault contains a single time cassette holding 1 million years. Philip futilely attempts to justify the pursuit of immortality, arguing that it is inherently in an individual's best interest, even if it comes at the expense of another's life. Unconvinced by his rationalizations, Will and Sylvia lock Philip inside the office and abscond with the million-year cassette. Upon their return to Dayton, they entrust the cassette to Maya, the young girl they met earlier, effectively passing the immense wealth of time to the hands of the common people. Raymond's relentless pursuit finally catches up with them as they run desperately toward the neighboring town of Livingstone, their own time dwindling to mere seconds. Witnessing Raymond's imminent arrival, Will notices a nearby police car and rushes toward it. Just in the nick of time, he manages to transfer the timekeeper's per diem from the vehicle's console device to himself. Returning to Sylvia, he desperately transfers some time to her, narrowly saving her life. Now armed with just a day's worth of time, they press on. As the Dayton residents cease their work and begin marching toward New Greenwich, Will and Sylvia, having drawn the attention of the timekeepers with a 1 million-year bounty, park their car in front of a massive institution, preparing for their most audacious heist yet. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified for more videos.